this is Marlene Watson-Tara, and I'm excited today to share with you my presentation from our Why Vegan Day at Oxford Literary Festival this year. I'm now re-recording because many people have requested the presentation. So, our ultimate health experience, life skills for healthy living. This is our flagship programme that Bill and I have taught in many countries. 20 times we've moved, actually. 7 countries. We've moved 7 countries. And our message never changes because it's our passion and purpose to work together to create educational content that we share freely with the world in person or at our retreats or online. And my message today is understanding how plants lead the way to all life. They are the foundation of life. Everything alive today derives from this single common ancestor known affectionately as Luca, last universal common ancestor. So as we know, plants are producers, meaning that they can create their own food through photosynthesis, which converts sunlight into energy. And this process also releases oxygen into the atmosphere, which of course is vital for the survival of most life forms. At my Queen of Beans workshops, we have a lot of fun, they're very informative, and we use these incredible beans for soups, mains, desserts, sides, sauces, dips. The possibilities are endless. Discover the health benefits of Go Vegan for yourself and your family. That was my message in my last book, Go Vegan. It's been purchased around the world. It's also available in Chinese all over China. You'll find it in India. You'll find it in Spain, all over the world. And that makes me very excited. And I was very blessed to have T. Colin Campbell write the foreword as a long-time friend, because the association with macrobiotics and T. Colin Campbell goes way back, which I'll talk about later. When I was writing the book, I used these 3 symbols because these are the indicators of everything that I love, everything that's important in my life. And when I teach, I always combine ancient wisdom, the environment, and nutritional science. So throughout the book, you will find and learn so much about all of these different areas. I am always excited, I'm always energized, I'm always engaged, and especially when Bill and I founded the Human Ecology Project to serve our shared vision for a healthy world for humans and non-humans alike. Our mission is to communicate the deep connection between human well-being, environmental sustainability, and a healthy society, and of course, the rights of all living things. And we do this in a clear and well-grounded way that respects science, ancient wisdom, and common sense. Because if you remember, the first law of ecology is everything is connected. When we were recently there, as I said, in Oxford, we were in some of the schools, sharing our programme, and they're very well received. The pupils are always very engaged with the cooking nutrition workshop, and they download our free video workbooks, and that helps them to commence with their own study groups. However, if you look at the top slide here, the ultra-processed foods is sadly a hugely growing trend, and the consumption of these UPFs has steadily increased in the UK. Over the past 2 decades have become skyrocket. And adolescents have the highest consumptions of these UPFs, with about 2/3, 66% of their daily calories coming from this source. And studies have linked high consumption of UPFs to negative health outcomes, including increased risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and certain cancers. The Oxford Literary Festival have been an incredible support to our work, and in the past few years, they've featured our books, our works, and my vegan menus that I designed for the gala dinners, and they're loved by hundreds of guests each evening. And it's such a joy to Bill and I to see our Human Ecology Project featured in all the materials from Oxford. And this year, 2025, we hosted the very first Why Vegan event at any university, and it was such a blast. The chefs were amazing. They were thrilled and excited to learn how to cook my menus, understanding new foods and combining. And it's back already by popular demand for next year. So book in 2026, you'll find us back in Oxford University. But as you can see here on the screen, you know, the food was so delicious. Of course, I say that because I created the menu, but seriously, it was. And people really, for the first time, had a fine taste and understanding of what a vegan menu can actually be like. It was so exciting. And of course, moving on from that, then if we talk about the topic of interest in human nutrition. So what is food is obviously relative to the organism that we're discussing. So that really depends on what species we're talking about, what organism we're talking about. And the old saying that one man's meat is another man's poison, it really only applies between species. It doesn't apply within the same species. For example, horses need what horses need, right? And humans need what humans need. And we also think, well, where is food derived from for humans, you know? And of course, from a nutritionist standpoint, it's what I have listed here on this slide. But food is more than that. Food is chi, it's energy, it's spirit, it's your life force. And that takes us to macronutrients, breaking down the protein, the carbohydrates, and the fats. And of course, we're told we need to eat animals for protein and we need to get calcium from dairy foods and good fats from this and so on and so forth. And the lies just continually stream out day after day. So let's bring some truth to the light here. If we look at protein, the human understanding of protein, because of course it's not our fault, we are conditioned into believing this from the moment we're born, basically, that we need animal food to survive, to build muscle mass, etc., etc. But the most important thing that we like to share is that all proteins actually, regardless of the source, must be broken down into basic molecular structure. And of course, that means the animal protein, the amino acids from animals are very difficult to unpack, whereas the ones from plants are not. So just think about this. All plants are protein. There is no protein problem. And here we go with fats. There's no need to add more oils or anything to a healthy vegan diet. The omega-3 and 6, Mother Nature didn't get it wrong. Everything's packaged so beautifully. You know, and you get extra healthy fats from tofu and peanut butter, etc. But they're also found in chickpeas and beans and oats and vegetables, and even an orange has fats, right? So there's no need to add more fats to your diet. And of course, what happens to our poor carbohydrates? I mean, they're completely demonized. They are the source of fuel in our body. We do not run in protein or fat. Well, we'll run in fat if we run out of carbs, but the carbohydrates are the primary source of human energy. 20% of our brain is using carbohydrate for fuel every day, and that glucose is our life. So, you know, when I see people that say, oh, you know, I tried to go vegan and I was so exhausted, I had no energy. What were they eating? So the kitchen is the centre of the universe, and my top assistant, Mr. Tara, always willing with a hand, ready to give me a good old assisting, chopping board, you know, dishwashing, whatever I need, because sometimes I'm hired to, you know, do events for families or cook a week's meals. And we always take into account food in the five tastes, the textures, creamy, crunchy, chewy. It's very important, but really food combining is a skill, you know, because sometimes you see menus on things in fish and lentils. No, not a good idea. So, you know, once you understand the food combinations and what works and makes your tummy happy, it's a done deal. And using food in the five tastes, sweet, sour, salt, bitter, pungent, is phenomenal, because then you're not going to be craving, you're completely satiated. So ancient foods for modern cooks, incredible benefits of eating this way. The clients that I see, they stay with this way of living because they feel better, and it's the feeling better that keeps you on track. Of course, there's both subjective and objective measures of health. The subjective methods being like, self-reported health status or pain levels or your energies low or high, and just relying on an individual's personal awareness and perception of their health. Whereas the objective measures, on the other hand, obviously quantifiable. You can have diagnostic instruments, blood tests, etc. But when you work with the gut biome, you actually have incredible benefits within 3-4 days. Why go vegan? Preventing the exploitation of animals is not the only reason for becoming vegan, but for many, it remains the key factor in their decision to go vegan and stay vegan. When you have an emotional attachment with animals, that can form part of the reason. And many people believe, as I do, that all sentient creatures have a right to life and freedom. Einstein, back in the 50s, he said, nothing will benefit the human race more than anything as a vegetarian diet. Well, my belief is the evolution is here, and it's veganism. Colin Campbell, T. Colin Campbell, the father of modern nutritional science, I coined this for T. Colin Campbell because Hippocrates being the father of modern medicine, T. Colin Campbell, the world's foremost important biochemist, nutritional scientist of the 21st century, hands down. And as he states on here, as soon as we get over the bias that we need animal protein, the better off we will be. The invisible thread of connectedness continues. Since 2005, Bill and I read the China study and we both thought, amazing, amazing. This will change the world. Well, we're not there yet, but we're still here and we're still pushing and shoving and educating and teaching, and just watch this space. How to prevent cancer. Now, you might think, well, I'm focusing a lot on cancer, but really it's because the China study was a groundbreaking book. They called it the Grand Prix of human nutrition. And if you haven't read the China study, I encourage you all to get a copy. It's life-changing. People will often say, oh, it's impossible to be healthy in this day and age, and there's toxics in the air and toxins in the water. No, you do the best you can every day to create a strong immune system. We're drowning in information, and as I say here, we're starved for the truth because the power of the food industry is so huge. We got to encourage an immune function that takes care of us each and every day. That's where I focus my own health. Immunity, immunity, immunity. So why is Japan the most longest country in the world? Well, obviously Bill and I are very grateful to many Japanese teachers who brought this way of living to the West. They wanted to change the food system because they knew that when people became healthy, it would create a more peaceful world. You can download this study from our website on the statistics that were done on G7 countries, and Japan showed incredible life expectancy. Also, there's a study there from Harvard. You can download that and read. Always download and read anything when the truth tellers are speaking the truth. They always back it up with the real science. So we look at diet and the development of disease, and while chronic inflammation progresses very quietly, it is a leading cause of many chronic diseases and possesses the most significant threat to individual health and longevity. I mean, just look in the chart here, that's just a few examples that I put up there to let you see what happens with inflammation. So how do we counteract that? Well, for me, the biggest form of alkalizing foods are green vegetables. They're the best anti-cancer drugs, and they're found here in all the greens that we have every day. This is our box of greens that comes weekly. We also have obviously carrots and onions and garlic and all sorts. But the cruciferous vegetables are the top-notch ones to have because sulforaphane, which neutralizes toxins, and it also calms inflammation in the body. And as I said earlier, inflammation is a significant factor in the development and progression of many chronic diseases. Also, glucosinolates, they act via several mechanisms, ultimately exhibiting anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and chemoprotective effects. So why is this information not promoted? Why? Well, here it is. The power industry, the power of the food industry, as I said earlier, is the biggest, largest industry in the world. That's the answer. Look at what they've done. They cancelled this great man. They cancelled T. Colin Campbell. They tried to bury his work, 60 years of research, I mean, just unbelievable. So the meat and dairy industry are, huge supporters and fund massive amounts of Cornell University. You can see that from the big stainless steel artifact bottle of milk outside their university. Shame on all of them. That's what I say. Shame on all of them. And we look at why that happens also is because it's all about economy. It's not about ecology. Prioritizing the economy over ecology, as we all know, it's leading to unsustainable resource extraction, pollution, and habitat destruction. Economic activities can have negative impacts on ecosystems, as we all know, leading to the huge loss of biodiversity, reduced ecosystem services like clean air and water are birthright, and ultimately undermining the long-term stability of both the economy and the society. So, for example, increased demand for materials and energy to support economic growth can lead to the deforestation we're seeing, climate change, and other massive environmental problems. So I hope at this point you're thinking, what can I do? How can I help? How can I get involved? Well, ask yourself, what are you motivated by? And we always tell our students and clients, the next part of your life can be the best part of your life, because when you're passionate about doing something, that in itself keeps you in tip-top condition, right? Because you're so passionate about sharing this truth with everyone that crosses your path. What I like to think about is I'm always here, I'm always available. I help people where and when I can, especially setting up their kitchen. Because I look at people and I'm working with mums who are single parents and they've got 3 kids at school, and I have to help them adapt their kitchen and their life to something that would work for them that's easily obtainable. Because so many people, they're wired, but they're so tired and they're running in this, sympathetic nervous state all the time because, of course, with the food they're eating is adding to that. When you change to this beautiful way of eating plants, your parasympathetic nervous system is far more susceptible and you'll start to feel more grounded and more calm. I see it constantly with clients, And when you give the gift of health to another, it's the most amazing thing that you can do. So renewed health and well-being is available for all. And then we ask ourselves, well, how do we achieve an optimal vegan diet? Well, we use a variety of grains and beans and vegetables and nuts and seeds, and that provides more than sufficient protein for health and vitality. People ask, whoa, where do I get B12? I'll cover that in a minute or two. Iodine, plenty of sources of iodine, even in vegetables, but sea vegetables, delicious. Nori rolls, wonderful. Vitamin D, get out more. We're sitting way too much indoors. And even when the sun's not there, the clouds are there and you still get some vitamin D through the clouds. And also remember, you can use fortified plant milks and other sources like mushrooms and things. Essential fats I covered earlier, you get from everything that we use, seeds and nuts. So when we eat food as grown, we have this incredible connection because it's our life force. That's what's making our blood, and that blood's making our cells. Cells are making our tissue. Tissue makes our organs, our body, and here we are every day. So eat food as grown, and that's my mantra, one of my many mantras. And also, food is life. Think about what Masanobu Fukuoka said. It's the most beautiful thing to understand the production of food comes from nature. So we often speak of producing the food, but it's nature that's providing it. And I have been a serious gardener inside and out since my teenage years. So tending outside my garden, inside my garden, which is my gut biome, and taking care of all these microbes that outnumber me by 10 to 1. So really only 10% of Marlene exists, right? Everything else is fungi and bacteria and archaea. It's so cool to think that way. Bill Tara saying, thank God for that. So then we have a wee look at bacteria and what's going on with that. So bacteria rocks our world. You're a walking, talking ecosystem within the gut-brain connection. And if we damage the soil outside, we're going to damage the soil inside. You know, sometimes when we're in schools and we say to the pupils, if you take a teaspoon of topsoil, it contains over 10,000 different species. Can you imagine 1 billion individual microscopic cells? It's beyond comprehension. So many life forms, you know, make soil their home, and in turn, most other animals depend upon them for food. We're all in it together. Now, good, better, best is my theory. If you don't have an area where you can grow vegetables like we don't right now, where we're living, then I have my sprouter on every single day. I sprout radishes and mung beans and all sorts. Alfalfa. What do I have on the go just now? I've got broccoli seeds in right now. Delicious, incredible intensity, 200-300% intensity in that one little seed that sprouts into a plant. So we have these every day as well. And then we're always asked, where do you get your protein? Well, think about it. The African bush elephant, the most widely considered largest land mammal, weighs up to 10.1 tons. Can you imagine? Consumes around 230 kilograms of vegetation daily. But then look at other herbivores. You've got giraffes and hippos and rhinos, and they all rely on plant matter for sustenance. And then we see people who say, yeah, but B12, where am I going to get B12? We actually see people who have a heavily based animal protein diet and they're B12 deficient. Bill and I, we take a simple B12 supplement once or twice a week. It's a naturally occurring bacteria. It's not something that's made in a laboratory. You can also fortify it with nutritional yeast, which is not an active yeast, it's deactivated for people thinking yeast. No, I can't have yeast. Fortified plant-based milks. The possibilities are endless. And then we look at the vegan athletes that are growing around the world. They understand, they feel, they have body autonomy, they're listening to their body, more injury or less injury, faster recovery time or longer recovery time, depending on where they're eating, what they're eating. It's just unbelievable. So these vegan class, world-class athletes are extending their careers. Wonderful to see. So we say to the pupils to encourage them to be excited and follow their icons and, you know, get them involved in what you're doing. Write to them and they'll write back. They will write back. Trust me, they write back to me. Okay. This is a very simple little slide, but it's quite profound when you think about it. If we look at the comparative anatomy in the mammalian species, whether we're looking at how we chew, carnivores don't chew, they bite and swallow. We're looking at salivary enzymes. We have amylase, particularly myelin, which is only found in the saliva of humans and a few other animals, but it's a catalyst that accelerates the process of hydrolyzing carbohydrates into simple sugars in the digestive system. So these enzymes are responsible for remodeling or degrading the starch into simpler carbohydrate structures, such as maltose. And you may know that amylase, which is an enzyme found chiefly in saliva and pancreatic fluid, it's converting the starch and the glycogen into the simple sugars, and the glycogen, as you know, is a substance that's deposited in the bodily tissue as a store of carbohydrate. It's a polysaccharide with forms from glucose on hydrolysis, and hydrolysis is the chemical breakdown of a compound due to reaction with water. Okay, it sounds a bit scientific, but basically, animals don't have that. Carnivores, omnivores, they don't have that. So it's really interesting to look at what's going on here. The colon's different. Peristalsis, they don't need it because they don't have fiber. The brain chemistry fueled by fats and proteins look along to what we're fueled by. And the nails, we laugh and say, can you imagine tearing an animal or something apart with these fingernails? You know, we would break them opening a packet of crackers. The digestion, 2 to 4 hours for a carnivore. Look at what we take. And even the herbivores longer, 24 to 48, because they're eating constant cellulose. So there's so many ways you can explain to people that have interest, but they come up with all these arguments. The answers are there. Then we look at our Human Ecology Project food chart. This is our daily fare, self-explanatory. You can download it from our website with an incredible book called What to Eat. It's about 40 pages long. It has beautiful photography. It explains everything about what I'm talking about here, carbs, proteins, fats, etc., etc. So it's an interesting, it's all free. You can download it from the site. Then we look at a day in the life of you and your fork. You've got to establish a new relationship between yourself and your food. That's the bottom line. Veganize your family favorites. If you like lasagna, make it with tofu or tempeh. Bolognese, same thing. You don't need to have beef. It's so easy to veganize your family favorites. Look, most people are already eating some grain. Well, for sure, they eat bread and pasta. They're eating vegetables and fruits and nuts and seeds. So you're just taking out the animal products and you're putting in beans and legumes and chickpeas and all sorts. It's so easy to do when you get your head around it. Then you hear, oh, I tried it. It was so weak. I couldn't do it. What are they eating? Poorly planned diets always fail. So I always say the biggest form of mass destruction to human health lies at the end of your fork. And when we have a well-planned diet, as I showed earlier, you'll thrive. When you have a poorly planned one, you won't. Developing skills is very, very important. And I like to call this, it's not so much about life skills, it's about easy skills. It's not about willpower. It's just understanding how can you create healthy habits. I mean, that's basically the bottom line. There's a thing called habit stacking that was old years ago. And we have our students working this way for continued success. So each day they add they have a different time scale from me, obviously, but they add new habits every single day. We tell them to get up to 10 and then it's a done deal and they're on it for life. It's fantastic. So stacking is something to think about. And if you fall off the path, don't fall off the cliff, just get back on the path. 4 weeks to vegan. All I can say is health and healing truly does start in your own kitchen. We have moved 20 times, 7 countries, and our lifestyle stays exactly the same. People say, oh, I live in Spain, or I can't do this, or I can't. No, we've lived in 7 countries, and we have the same diet. Right, that's how easy it is. So we developed this program 23, 4, 5 years ago, and it was a very successful program because we shared our education. The clients learned to cook. They loved the transformation, having just 16 dishes. They came once a week, so it would be usually on a weekend. And then they became a lighthouse and they started sharing and teaching and helping others because that's what we need. We need more people lighting up the world because the planet is so fragile. I mean, we don't need to look any further than our nose to see what's happening with global warming and climate change and all sorts of things that's happening in the world, food security. That's where Bill and I feel our Human Ecology Project we have to work harder to get it into more mainstream schools and universities and colleges. Because as I said earlier, plants lead the way to all life. And I look back to my own childhood. So maybe 55 years ago when I was 13, 14 years of age, I worked in the fruit and veg shop after school. Everything was in, loose packs and you would put them in paper bags for the customers. Nothing was processed. And I look now and it's completely gone in the opposite direction. So we have to get back into this way of life, that understanding plants do lead the way to all life. Dennis Burkitt was a very important man in my life, although I never met him, but his book is one of the most important books that I ever read because a lack of fibre nearly killed me as a young girl. I didn't eat meat, so I had copious amounts of dairy food. My appendix burst. I nearly died with peritonitis. I was seriously ill with peritonitis. Then I had my gallbladder removed. Then I had my tonsils removed. Then I had my adenoids removed. And you're thinking, what? And this is all to do with diet. All of it is to do with diet. I was lacking fibre. I was building up cholesterol levels. So I'm very blessed and lucky to have been awakened at a very young age to what constitutes a healthy diet. And as Dr. Dennis Burkitt said here, we need to get back to the diet of our ancestors. One of my other books, earlier books, Macrobiotics for All Seasons, yin and yang is probably the only thing that's really ever made sense to me in my life, because when you understand balance in all things, or in the language of the body, homeostasis, indeed, of course, well-being in all its expressions has balance as its own signature, whether it's the pulse of the planet or the pulse on my wrist. But nature through biodiversity and, of course, balance is fundamental to human health psychologically and physiologically. So macrobiotic contributions in my vegan work has been hugely beneficial to me as well in my creation of health and wellness, whether it's creating recipes or working with yoga or whatever. The amazing power of whole grains is something that we all should give back, because that was given to me a long, long time ago. And for me, when someone gives you something of value, whatever it may be, like one grain that can reproduce 10,000 times, then pass it on 10,000 times. A word of love and appreciation goes a very long way and is a tremendous help to so many people. So I never feel afraid to express my gratitude and appreciation in 101 different ways to mentors that I've had. I didn't make all this up. I've learned from the ancients, traditional Chinese medicine in particular, when I was studying acupuncture. It's just one of the most fundamental lessons I've ever had in my life. Breakfast porridge, it sets you up for the day. And no matter where we live in the world, throughout the year, 365 days, we have breakfast porridge. We love it. It's our fuel for the day. And we look back to ancient times, the Mayans and the Aztecs, and how agriculture evolved. And now we look at the poor old world that demonized carbs all the time. And I won't go into it because I spoke about that earlier. But this is a breakfast of warriors, and it's a very, very nutrient-dense bowl of goodness. I call it my mighty bowl of goodness. Plus the toppings. You can live on that if you're on a tight budget. Trust me, whether I'm working with, people of wealth or people on a very low budget, they have whole grain. Soups and salads, the 4 S's, if you look at soups, salads, starches and steamed. It's not even really cooking. It's like quick meals for busy people. You can use frozen corn. You can use chopped, canned, jarred, roasted red pepper. You're basically stirring the pot and warming, right? You can even buy ready-made vegetables that are chopped, frozen, bring them home. Good, better, best, always do that. Obviously, your best will be different every day, depending on work commitments or whatever you're doing, but good, better, best, go for best as much as you can. And we look at, tiny, tiny little things like we all need something sweet in life. Most people do. These chocolate aduki bean balls, probably the most easy things. There's no cooking involved. You either soak and pressure cook aduki beans, or you buy jarred or canned aduki beans, and you're just blitzing them with some dates and pecans, etc., or almonds if you prefer. They freeze beautifully. Roll them up, put them in bags or jars in the fridge and freezer. On the go, always have something healthy for I call it snack attack. And then lentils, what to say, the world's oldest health foods. If you think about the growers, first raised these beans in the Middle East in the 8,000 BC. And they've worked their way west since then as one of the earliest domesticated crops seen in the diets of ancient Rome and Egypt. And then again, mung beans, unbelievable. And I can train chefs for royal families or movie stars, or I can work with Action Against Hunger and I use the same ingredients in this bean burger. They're just delicious. And these almond mung bean burgers, I can't remember. I think a 500 kilo bag was only a few pounds. You get like 40, 48, 50 burgers from 2 cups of beans. It's incredible. So the whole thing about, oh, it's so expensive to go vegan, it's completely not true. Applesauce, another staple in our house. Beautiful, delicious, very calming, especially when you're working online and you're in front of computers all day. It's balancing the yin with the yang. It's beautiful. I love it. And then, of course, Marlene, does the world need more cake? Well, yes, because I had to create delicious tarts and cakes, etc., because I'm trying to bring the world to the vegan table. But these are the healthiest options you'll find. I don't use, free sugars. I use rice syrups, date syrups, etc. Everything's used with either kuzu or agar seaweed flakes, the thickeners that I use. And our friend Bill Spear was over from the US recently, and I made the lemon tart, and Mr. Spear said, wowza. So thank you for that, Bill Spear. Science agrees. Now here we go to the real science, not funded by the food industry, but alarmingly, only a handful of nutritional scientists have actually published any kind of evidence suggesting that the global consumption of animal-based foods is the leading driver of chronic disease in humans. By a wide margin, Dr. T. Colin Campbell is the most prominent of these nutritional scientists who spent decades and decades trying to tell the entire world about nutrition. And for the most part, as you know, humans have chosen to ignore this life-saving work. Read the China study, please, and change your world. When we look also at the genetic people say, oh, genes, I have this because it's in my genes. Well, another profound saying, T. Colin Campbell, genes load the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. So if you think about this, a squandered opportunity of epic proportions, just imagine what could have happened in the past half century if Cornell University, rather than burying Dr. Campbell's findings, had started publicising that game-changing information all over the world. Think about that. How many lives could have been saved? How much suffering with chronic disease could have been stopped? What about the animals? We could go on and on, the billions of animals every year. Trillions of pounds could have been saved on healthcare. Millions of humans would not be obese. The trillions of trees would not have been torn down, and let's not even go there about climate change. Bill's already covered that. So another study to look at, and please download these on Loma Linda, California website, that vegans have found to have the highest biomarkers. So, there's so much to share that I could go on forever, but I'm just about finished. And Mr. Tara here, much as I love him, but my body is my life partner. And if we all think about that on a day-to-day basis, 37 million new cells renewing every second of every minute. Incredible. So your body, you're taking care of you. Your body is your life partner. I can't stress that enough. It's so important. And again, you're nourishing yourself emotionally, mentally, and physically. So we have a program at our Life Learning Zone, putting it all together. As a long-time yoga teacher, I visit yoga studios and we present our human ecology project. Bill and I, we talk about ahimsa, doing no harm should be the teachings of all who teach this practice. I'm hopeful again of reconnecting my Cook Fit programs with a collection of hotels I had some meetings with recently. So everything crossed. Yoga lunch and cooking class are all served up at this event. It's great fun. And the clients are watching me demonstrating in a cooking class what they're eating that the chef is cooked after their yoga session. It's just fantastic. So they're ready. They can go home and cook it. They've watched me doing it, they've tasted it, they know how it should taste. It's a done deal. What we eat and how we live, if you think about it, the hospitals are not filled with people dying of protein deficiency. They're filled with people dying from these dreadful non-communicable diseases that are among, well, the world now. It's a world diet. And the best interventions to reduce the risk of these is to move right across to a plant-based diet. Movement is medicine. And I know this all works because I am living testimony for this for decades in all my missing parts. And here I am with the same energy and vitality I had in my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Near 2 years I'll be 70. And 70 to 80, I'm sure, unless I get run over by a bus, I hope not. I'll have the same vitality and energy because of the fuel that I use every day in incredible plant-based nutrition. So for me to give the gift of health to everyone I meet makes me jump out of bed every morning. I have such passion for all life, for humans and non-humans, to live freely, ingrained deep into my heart. It's the song in my heart. It's the song in Bill's heart every day. And as I said earlier, we are all students of life. And back in 2003, when we launched our Ultimate Health Experience program, and our Human Ecology project now, it's the beauty and intelligence of nature that inspires both of us every single day. And we're very blessed to have each other and share this. We beat as one heart. We're like two peas in a pod. We eat the same food. We do yoga together. We hike together. We bike together. We research together. We write. We do everything together. So we're very, very lucky. And I always say to everybody, I'm waiting for an argument. Please come and argue with me why veganism should not be adopted globally. You've got to speak your truth. You've got to share it with others. The vast body of evidence is so profound now, it's irrevocable. And remember, veganism is not just a diet. Veganism is a philosophy. It's a way of life causing no harm as much as possibly and practicable to any other being. And I love good old Copernicus. Remember? Legend has it that Nicholas Copernicus and the church were at odds over his development of the heliocentric theory, the principle that disputed the widely held belief that Earth was the centre of the universe. But society resisted and eventually realised it was true. So the past gives me hope for the future. And I do believe that hope has power, always. Okay, I expect everybody to see the world through my eyes. Wouldn't that be great? I'm very naive, but my passion for a healthy world is what drives me. And we can all embrace a new truth and we can live our best life in a natural way. It's absolutely possible. These workbooks, if you watch Bill's video or if you go to our website, we have written and created little videos and workbooks for free download: what to eat, soil and health, let's keep fish in the sea, what's happening with our water, what's happening in the ocean, because we're trying to connect the dots for a planet in crisis. And that's what we take into schools and the colleges and the universities and communities. We're looking to hopefully expand on that as this year progresses forward. So connecting the dots, we need to have a revolution of the heart and the mind. That's what the world needs. The world needs a revolution of the heart. Beans for the world. I have so much appreciation and a word of gratitude daily for the gift of the work that I was given to do. It's useless telling yourself how grateful you are for someone or something unless you use your voice to give it strength, to give it power, and express it to the individual. And as great as the great Nelson Mandela said, it's the most beautiful line: education is the most powerful tool we have to change the world. It truly is. Because when I look at what's happening with our beloved animal kingdom, humans have transformed the mammal kingdom. A diverse range of mammals once roamed this planet, and it's changed so quickly and dramatically with the arrival of humans. Since we arrived here, wild land mammal biomass has declined by an estimated 85%. I mean, it's unbelievable. The Living Planet Index shows an average 73% decline in global wildlife populations over the past 50 years. And this decline is driven by factors like habitat loss and overexploitation. It's heartbreaking. I mean, look where we are. And remember as well that animals are our friends, they're not our food. If you have a cat or a dog or, whatever pets you have, they're sentient beings. They feel pain, they feel pleasure the same as you and I do. So they're friends, not food. And to give the gift of health to another is the greatest gift. And I'll just end here because for me, health is everything. Without health, everything is nothing, because I have been there so many times and I'm so grateful to have come out the other end with this great gift of teaching this work. Thank you for watching.